For Tom, it's a difficult one because obviously for him, he's not been here before. He probably just wants to get this part done and get in the ring and have a fight. And obviously, there's no bones about it. He is the underdog, so he probably just wants to get in there, get the fight done. And you know, all this is relatively new for him, but it doesn't mean that he won't rise to the occasion, and we're fully aware of that.
How much do you think of your job being Tyson's coach is getting him in the gym, keeping him straight and narrow? I'm sure it was worse before the Wilder fight, but how much of it these days is just getting him in the gym, keeping him happy and keeping him training?
Relatively easy. Now it's at the point where I haven't even got to get Tyson to the gym, he gets himself to the gym. If anything, sometimes I have to try and get him to have time off.
Do you think that's something that people haven't given you enough credit for? Because I heard you say in an interview earlier this week that Dillian Whyte criticised you saying you haven't changed Fury's game, but very few people could have made him lose this weight and get him this motivated again.
It's not just me that's helped him lose the weight, it's a full team. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 people here, and this is not even a big part of it, so loads of people played their part.
Just put a percentage-wise or a number on it, how much better is he now than before the Wilder fight?
Well, we'll see Saturday. I'd say performance-wise in the gym, there's probably a 20% improvement, maybe a little bit more, but in the gym's one thing and on the night's a different thing, so we'll have to wait and see Saturday.
He's obviously very relaxed this week, he's obviously enjoying this. Is it good working with a fighter who never gets tense on fight week, who's just taking it, or would you rather he maybe does feel a little bit like, oh shit, there's a fight on the weekend?
Everybody's different, everybody deals with it differently, you just have to know the person that you're working with, and you know, it's a new experience for Tyson being here, but luckily we got Ricky who's boxed out in, gave us some tips and advice that's on things to do and things not what to do while over here in Vegas, and it's been very helpful.
I just wanted to ask you one question about an interview you did with IFL earlier this week. It's a bit separate for Tyson. You were talking about Joshua and Ruiz, and in the rematch, if they changed specific things, like for example, for people who didn't hear it, Joshua steps in with his jab, and sometimes Ruiz can come under that, and he's close the distance for Ruiz. You were saying he needs to change specific things, but if he's been boxing the same way for years, is from now until November enough time for him to change that?
I don't know. I don't spend time in the gym with him. I don't work with him. I don't know him personally. Obviously, he's trained that way for a number of years, so it probably will be difficult. But I don't know how quick he can learn new things. He could be a fast learner. He might not be. I don't know. But if things don't change, it's a 50-50 fight.
Is that a fighter-by-fighter thing where some people can just pick up new ways of boxing very quickly, and others are just, I've learned by textbook, as you said, for years, I can't change? Everybody
learns in different ways. Some people you can just say it to them and they know what you mean and can do it. Some people you have to demonstrate it to. Some people it takes 3 or 4 people. Sometimes it takes weeks, months to pick one thing up. So everybody's different.
Ben, obviously Tyson's got this big personality. A lot of heavyweight champions have. Is that hard? Or what's it like to go through the ups and downs of a guy with that big a personality and all that? Is that tough on you ever? What's that like?
Yeah, of course it's tough, you know. Obviously it is. But he's a lot more mentally balanced now than he was during the comeback phase. So it makes things a lot easier. And like I say, people always say, oh, you know, you've done this, you've done that. But there is a full team that have played a part in getting him back there, including his family. And you know, there's a lot of people have lifted some weight off of my shoulders as well.
I know back in the old school, we'll say trainers were almost the boss. You know, they at some point they kind of needed the fighter to obey him a little bit. Is that hard to do with a guy who's 6'9" and you know you're a young guy? Or is the dynamic changed these days where it's different now for the trainer and fighter?
I wouldn't say it's particularly about how it is across the board. It's different for each and every person, you know. Ricky had a famous relationship with Billy Graham where they was very friendly, but obviously when it comes to the gym, Tyson respects me. He's got a nutritionist, he's got a strength and conditioner in Christian, so when it comes to each job he respects the person that he's employed in that role.
When you say mentally balanced, he's better mentally balanced now than he was during the comeback, what do you mean by that? Is that sort of a day-to-day thing, or is it in the gym, or just...
Day-to-day, in every way. So when we first done the comeback, when we moved into the hotel, if I left him for 5 minutes, I'd get your kit ready, everything would be ready. I'd say to him, right, I'm going to go do a little bit of training myself. I want you to leave here in an hour and I'll meet you at the gym. Is that okay? You just rest, everything's done for you, just get up and leave in an hour. Just rest until then. Yep. Yeah, I'd leave for the gym, get to Ricky's gym. Within 2 minutes, he'd be walking through the door. Couldn't leave him for 2 minutes. But like I say, it's a lot more stable and a lot more balanced now.
He said that he has his, still has it like sort of down days. Obviously, everyone does. Do you manage as a trainer? Do you have to manage that when it comes to the boxing side, or is the boxing pretty regimented? Are you doing the same sort of thing, or do you sometimes say, we could have a day off today, or we could do?
To be honest, when he's having a down day, he has to do something. The other day we went over to LA for some media, and when we come back, I wanted him just to rest, but I knew the mood that he was in. If he didn't do any training, he was going to either be in a bad mood that night, or he was going to follow on to the next day. So we done a workout. It wasn't anything
just to keep
tough,
him busy,
but just something to balance him mentally, and that's just getting to know somebody.
Yeah. On the subject of being in America, you've been here the best part of the last 7 months, really. Although not totally. Yeah. How's that changed him? Do you think spending so much time over here and really immersing himself in the camp, here and the one before Wilder as well? Does that help him? Do you think?
Yeah, I think it helps everybody to have a goal, routine and structure, to have something to work to. It helps everybody mentally. If, you find it with people when they lose their job, a lot of the times when they come out of the military or the forces, or they retire, that's when people start to go downhill, so to speak. And I think the biggest problem that people have, and sometimes don't actually understand, is that they're losing routine, consistency and structure, and I think that's a very important part for the human mind.
Ben, after the Wilder fight, were you maybe nervous that dedication that Tyson had would go away, being that he didn't get the victory in that fight?
Not necessarily the dedication. I would have said that the problem that I probably thought would have occurred was I was waiting for the instability to kick back in, because going into the Wilder fight, he obviously had his mindset, he had something to focus on, he had a big task ahead of him. Going into the Wilder fight, it gave him something to focus on, a big task ahead, and I sort of thought after, I felt like I was waiting for a blip, but the blip never really came. Obviously he has ups and down days, but I think the biggest thing that we can take away from that fight, barring the performance and the way that the American people have took to him, is what he's done for him mentally and helped balance him.
How cheated did you feel by that draw?
Yeah, I think people saw how I reacted to it, and like I said, I think Tyson helped prevent a big riot on the night. I was absolutely fuming over it. There was not a 0.00001% chance that I thought Tyson hadn't won that fight.
Well, you even said in the corner, 2 minutes away from the best comeback ever, or 3 minutes away. So I just was interested, how long did it take you to really swallow that and think, okay, next task, even if you have?
I went on holiday after, and I was still very, very frustrated with it, but I suppose, like I said, I was waiting for that blip from Tyson, but because that never come, I think it sort of probably helped it be a little bit easier for me.
Were you surprised that blip never came? I think a lot of people watching Tyson were like, oh, what's going to happen now? Are you surprised that, even with a lower named guy like Tom Schwarz, he still seems to be in it, still motivated?
Yeah, but it's like what I said, when you enjoy what you do, it makes things a lot easier. You want to go and train, you want to get up and look forward to going to work. So that's what I find that we've found the right balance of, is enjoying what we do but being effective at what we do at the same time.
The other day at the open workouts, he has the most insane head speed, dipping and dodging by shoulders. What do you attribute a guy that size being able to move that quick to? Is that just pure God-given talent, or is it something he's worked out? How do you get to be that fast at that size?
He obviously, I've always said he's a freak of nature, and he has got God-given talent, but obviously you have to still work on those things. And what we do there, what you mentioned with the sticks, is people always talk about defense and what's the best form of defense, but the best form of defense is eyes. If you can't see, how can you defend it? If you can't see what's coming, you can't defend it. So that's why when people think, oh, we're just having a laugh with the sticks, but he's training his eyes. A lot of fighters, when shots are coming at them, they close their eyes, they can't see, they try and ride a shot. If you watch Tyson, whenever he's riding the shot, slipping the shot, he's always got his eyes on the target. And that's one of the most important assets that you can have as a boxer.
Ben, what prepared you, though, to be ready to take on this task again at 26, what was it in life that, if you could let us in on some of the things that prepared you for this?
I was always hungry to be the best at whatever I did. So when I wasn't the best boxer, I would look and say, why? And I become very, very assessive, I would assess every little detail to think, why is that happening? Why is this happening? What does this boxer do in that situation? How does that not... The most important thing is boxing is not actually what you do when you punch or what you throw, it's what you do before and what you do after. And that's where a lot of people miss.
Is that the three timing? They say it's before, during, and after.
But you know, at the end of the day, every boxer can throw a 1-2 left hook. Most boxers can throw every shot in the textbook. But it's what they do before and what they do after that really has the impact.
Do you think that's why Fury's fighting style is so useful? Because Joshua throws this, then you know this one's coming, and even Wilder throws this big left, follows up with the right. Fury is not erratic, but you know, he's unique. Is that why he's so successful? Yeah,
because he's got multi styles. He's bipolar in his boxing style, and he can throw 6 shots with his right hand. Not left, right, which is the typical textbook way of boxing, you know, 1-2 left hook, 1-2 left hook, right uppercut, left hook. When it's a similar and repetitive punch pattern, it's easy to defend against.
Is that why you and him are going to have already made, but will make such a good partnership? Because he's unique, but I think from listening to you talk, you're a very sort of data collecting coach. You check other people out and you think, this is what they do. Because he doesn't do that, but your opponents still do. Is that why you guys are going to be able to form a game plan, go with it, and rise up?
Yeah, we do, but I find Tyson's not the type of guy that you want to sit down and, this is how I find him, sit down and say, okay, this person does this, and when he does this, you need to do that, and you need to do it like this, and you need to do it like that. And he's the type of guy that you get in the ring, and when you train specifically for what you want him to do.
If he did that, would he listen anyways?
He would listen, yeah, but I feel like that's how I seem to get the best out of Tyson, and it's the same with anybody. It's repetitiveness, repeating, repetition. So I can say it to him, he can walk away and not think about it again, which he's not that kind of guy. But when you repeatedly drill something into somebody, it becomes second nature.
So do you not even tell him why we're doing this drill? You just, this is the drill we're doing, and you sort of build it up and just get it?
Sometimes, yeah. And it just becomes second nature. Sometimes we'll sit down and talk about it. Sometimes I'll explain it to him in the ring, but a lot of the time I'll ask him to do something and repeat it. And the same with Isaac. And then it becomes second nature for him to do that.
Is Tyson a quick learner? We're talking about how boxers can learn quickly or not quickly. Is he a quick learner?
Of course, he can do a bit of everything, you know. I didn't make Tyson from nothing. He was a special talent from his first fight. Trained with his uncle Huey, done a lot of success with him. Obviously his dad John's worked with him, obviously his uncle Peter's worked with him. And then obviously, like I say, I've tried to add elements to his game that I feel I can improve on, or he could help him improve on. And like I said on the interview that you spoke about there, statistically, from the Klitschko fight to the Wilder fight, there was improvement. So what we're doing is working.
Found out how far he moved yet in the rings?
I haven't. If somebody can find that out, I would appreciate it. Yeah.
Ben, with Billy Joe Saunders going into camp, how does that change the aspect of, I guess, them two together? Is that kind of having to control both of them and get them both to the gym and things like that? Does that help, hurt? I don't know. How does that make it a little crazier for you?
Yeah, it's good, obviously, for Isaac as well, to have another world champion in the camp. He's picking up more things, advice again, and seeing how other professionals do things. Of course, it's good to have a boxer like Billy Joe around. He's exceptional talent as well.
What about those two guys together? Does that make the gym funner with those two guys kind of feeding off each other and things like that?
Yeah, when they're in the gym though, it's I wouldn't say fun. It's not in that respect, but I would say it becomes competitive. If one's having a bit of a day, feels a bit lethargic and sees the other one firing on all cylinders, then the other one thinks, well, hold on a minute, I want to be the man in the gym today, and they want to fire on all cylinders, and then Isaac's trying to keep up with them, and he's competitive, you know, it's good.
It's a good thing for a trainer, right?
Of course, and when they're on Isaac will try and keep, if Isaac's in a further position forward in his fitness, in a preparations in camp, then the other one's trying to match the levels that he's at, if they're doing runs together, etc. So, and you know, Tyson's always trying to keep up with Isaac at a featherweight pace. If they're doing drills together and training together, Christian will have them on sessions and doing certain drills together. Tyson will try and keep up with Isaac, so it's all.
And he can move for a big fella.
Yeah.
You've known him for years and years, obviously. How was he? Have you noticed him change? You know, is he different now than he was?
Yeah,
10 years ago?
like Ben said before, he's got a routine in his life now. You know what I mean? He's training medicine, so he makes sure he does his training.
Yeah.
He's complete with his training now. He knows what he has to do. And he's in a very good place at the minute. You know what I mean? He's been over there for the last 12 months.
Yeah.
And you've seen that with the Wilder feedback. You know what I mean? I think when Ben said before, he's improved 20%. I think he's improved maybe 30-40%. And I think on Saturday night you're going to see not just a display, but a super stronger, fitter, harder, not coming off a weight loss. And Tyson at his best.
I remember Billy Joe saying that he was seriously worried about Tyson back in the day, actually, when he went out to Marbella that time. Were you feeling the same?
Yes, 100%. From where we come from, our background, when we look at Tyson, he said, I'm down, I'm this, and we used to look at him and say, get up there, you're a man, you're a world champion. Never took no heed, because obviously he's like a big brother to me. When someone saying that to me, I didn't know what to do, because I wasn't used to it, I didn't know what to do. Because Tyson loves to play mind games and mess around sometimes. You don't know when he's laughing or being seen when he's joking. So, but when it really came the cruise part is when he was suffering it, then of course it dropped me out, you know what I mean? It broke all the families out, because when we're close to complete and you see someone as bottom as he got himself down to, it was very hard to take, but God's good, and with being so strong, he's pulled himself back around and he's back on the top of the tree again.
Ben, speaking of mind games and stuff, how was it training with Shaolin monks in Mongolia?
Yeah, good. You know, it was an experience for Tyson that he seemed to enjoy. So it looks like he's paying dividends. Yeah.
Something you'd recommend to other fighters to look into?
100%.
We've been talking a lot about improvement today and stuff like that. I think after the Wilder fight, people thought, well, if Fury could do that to him off this crazy time away, the next time they box, Fury's going to be lighter, better. Is that how you see it? Do you think this 20 to 40% improvement we've seen is enough to just make it less competitive on Wilder's half?
I'm a realist, and at the end of the day, Tyson's improving, but I'm sure that Deontay Wilder will be improving as well. You know, in my eyes, Tyson outboxed Deontay Wilder. How much more can you do than outbox somebody for 10, let's say 9 rounds if you want to give another round to Wilder? But at the end of the day, like I say, I'm a realist, and I know that Deontay Wilder, if he lands that right hand, can end a fight or completely change a fight upside down. So he's always going to be a dangerous man. He's never going to be 100% certain. But as long as Tyson's improving, that's all we can do. And that he has been doing, yeah.
Speaking of that, I think we heard you angry after the fight. What did you feel like when Wilder dropped him in the 12? What was that emotion like? And then how did you feel when Tyson popped back up?
Well, when he got knocked down, I remember looking, and I stood up, and I remember looking across, and I remember thinking, nothing's moving. Not like he'd been knocked down and there was no movement. His hands were still, his feet were still, his legs were still. I thought it's the end of the fight. And then I ended up actually in a row with the commission at the time. And then I remember after having a row, I turned around and he's back on his feet, and I was like, what the beep is going on? And then he got back up, started flying into Wilder, and I was like screaming no. I was thinking to myself, look, we've lost the round, let's just see the round out. And like I say, there was not 0.001% chance I thought we'd lost that fight, and I thought all we need to do is get through this round. But it was what it was.
Ben, how do you think he got, what was it that got him up from that knockdown, do you think?
A few things. God is a religious man, a God-fearing man, a good man, and you know, God works in mysterious ways. But also Tyson's experience, the fact that he knows not to rush to get up, he's been in that situation before, the fact that his bloodline, where he comes from, the way he's been brought up, never quit. He's got a travelling man's heart. he's also very open, and he will speak about. We had a guy in camp called Lawrence Okoli, a very good British fighter, and I remember Tyson speaking to him through camp to say, if you ever get knocked down, and was explaining what to do. And when you keep talking about something, it will end up sinking in unconsciously as well, subconsciously and unconsciously. And I think that played a part as well. And he's always in the same respect. He's always come out and said, to beat me, you have to nail me to the canvas. And like I say, when you keep repeating that, that will sink in.
Ben, you mentioned God, your faith and Tyson's faith is quite a big thing for both of you. Is that how much of your relationship is built around that? How important is that to what you have?
Yeah, of course. When you're similar and like similar things and get on, you know it's easier. You do have that. You gel. You know, it's not like we're complete opposites. I can tell he will act if he's upset and doesn't like something. He would act the exact same way as I would react and behave. So I can tell if something's wrong and if something's pissed him off, because we're very similar like that. And obviously it does help the relationship.
Have you discussed your faith with each other?
Yeah, all the time we will. And you know, we all went to church the other day, all of us together. Out here, and we done the same when we was in LA.
Is that something you do every camp? You find a church and go every
we
week?
Do always go, yeah.
How much of a strength do you think that is, having that extra bond beyond just
Nothing's more powerful than the man above.
And Ben, I know you're Tyson's trainer, not Deontay's, but at the same time, did you think he deserved more credit for, even though most people thought he lost the fight, for trying to go after a guy 30 pounds heavier than him, having that conviction for throwing 12 rounds? Do you think Wilder deserved some credit too for what he showed?
Deontay Wilder's a freak of nature as well. He's only slightly heavier than me now, but going into the fight, I was probably heavier than him. And you know, he can punch like a horse kicking. He's got heart, as he showed throughout the fight. He's got balls on him. And he's a lot more skilled than people give him credit for. If you watch fights like when he boxed Bermain Stiverne the first fight, when he boxed Ariola, when he boxed Duapas, he has good ring generalship. He knows how to create distance, maintain distance. He understands different distances. He was varying his jab up, varying his shots up. He's a lot better, but because it doesn't look textbook or look silky smooth, so to speak, people don't give him credit, but he's a very, very good fighter, and I do believe he's the second best in the world.
Who has the faster hand?
Out of who?
Out of Tyson and Deontay.
It's a difficult one. That's a difficult one. That is a difficult one. Actually, from getting from A to B, I don't know. A few times in that fight, they ended up jabbing together with each other, catching each other, same time jabbing, because they was very similar in speed.
And how does a fight between Wilder and Ruiz play out?
I like Andy Ruiz. I think he's a very, very good fighter, and a really nice guy from what everybody says. I just think stylistically, I think that Deontay Wilder would win that fight. Like I said, I just believe that Deontay Wilder is the second best heavyweight in the world.
But does he seem to do better against shorter fighters? Do you think part of why Fury gives him problems, because you mentioned Ariola and Stiverne, but those guys are shorter than Deontay?
I only use that example as opposed because of he boxed Brazil, wiped him out within about 2 minutes. Duapas is relatively tall, 6'5", I think, but boxed quite short in that fight. But obviously Deontay Wilder's tall, Tyson's tall. Tyson will cause anybody problems, but you do have to understand how to box somebody short, how to box somebody tall. You have to know how to vary your style. You have to change your defence tactics. You have to change you have to change a whole lot about your game, depending on how somebody is physically and stylistically.
Is that where Joshua's lacking? Because he seems to struggle against smaller guys with a good left hook.
I just think that the way Joshua is, he I don't want to get into too much detail because of a potential opponent, but like you say, look, he tends to he steps in very heavy with his shots because he's very focused on loading up. But when you step in heavy with your shots and you miss that shot, you've closed the gap for them. And obviously the shorter men are used to boxing taller men and like to be at that mid to short range. So then you're playing into their best areas.
Ben, are Joshua and Wilder maybe at a disadvantage against a guy like Ruiz, being that they're like finishers like that? Like once they get guys hurt, they go after the finish. I feel like that's what happened with Joshua. As soon as he tagged Andy, he went in for the kill and got tagged himself. I know you said Deontay would beat Ruiz, you feel would be favored against Ruiz. But wouldn't Wilder kind of have that issue as well once he gets Andy hurt, kind of going for the kill? The same thing that happened with Joshua, right? Like Ruiz.
Yes, but there's a difference with Joshua. Joshua hurts people and finishes people usually with a combination, multiple punches, whereas Wilder can really hurt someone or finish a fight with one clean shot. Is he at risk? Of course he's at risk, because when you plant your feet, load big shots up, it's who lands first. But Deontay Wilder is very, very quick with it as well, and that is an advantage for him, of course.
Do you see a difference between the Joshua that usually stalks the guys hurt, like Klitschko and the guy who ran in against Ruiz?
No, I just think that what showed is Andy Ruiz's experience there. And as he run back in, he actually got caught with a right hand. But when he got inside, he rolled underneath the left hook, naturally just knowing after right hand is probably going to be the left hook. He sat underneath the left hook, smothered Anthony Joshua, gained his composure, used his forearms to create some space, and started landing his own shots. And that just showed his experience and his class and his quality.
Ben, last one for me, brother. I know you said you're not going to share what you see on tape with Schwarz, but I'll give it a shot. You mentioned he's fundamentally sound, but is that part of why do you think he has nothing beyond being a good, sound, fundamental fighter, and that's why ultimately he won't beat Tyson on Saturday night and maybe not even trouble him, or is that putting words in your mouth?
Well, I know that he's brought in a new training team, and I know one of the coaches that he's employed, Roberto Norris, is a very good Cuban coach, a very good coach. So, and he's only young, so he'll be improving his game. So he may bring things that we haven't seen, and that's what I expect. But like I say, there's flaws in his game that I see that we look to exploit. But he's a big guy, but he's not a big plodder. He's quick feet, quick hands. He's German, so like I say, he's fundamentally sound. A former German international amateur, so he's a tidy boxer. Obviously, he's not been at his level before, but Tyson hadn't been at Klitschko's level when he boxed Klitschko before, so he's a little bit of an unknown quantity, and that is one of his assets coming into this fight.
Ben, how does a fight between Fury and Andy Ruiz play out?
Tyson understands how to box shorter guys. If you watch his fight against Chisora, the second fight, that's an example there. I believe that Tyson would outbox Andy. Obviously, Andy's a dangerous guy, but Tyson's a very, very smart boxer, and I feel that we know how to would know how to nullify Andy Ruiz.
Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you.